The battlefield is silent for a moment, just before the charge. Thousands of warriors stand ready, their shields locked together like a wall, their short spears poised to strike. At the front is a leader unlike any the world had seen before, Shaka Zulu. With a single command, he unleashes his warriors, who sweep across the field with precision and unmatched discipline. By the time the dust settles, his enemies are scattered, defeated, and fleeing for their lives. This was no ordinary battle, it was a revolution in the way wars were fought. But how did Shaka, born into exile and cast out by his own clan, rise to become one of the greatest military leaders in African history? How did a small Zulu clan grow under his rule to become a mighty kingdom, feared and respected across southern Africa? And what drove him to reshape not only his people but the land itself through his ambition and vision? Shaka Zulu's story is one of transformation. He was not born a king, but through sheer determination, strategy, and innovation, he built a legacy that still resonates today. His rise to power, the military techniques that changed history, the unification of the Zulu people, and the cultural impact that shaped southern Africa are at the heart of understanding his extraordinary life. This is the story of Shaka Zulu, a leader who defied the odds, changed the rules, and left a mark on history that will never fade. In 1787, Shaka Zulu was born into a world that was anything but welcoming. His father, King Senzangakona, ruled over a small Zulu clan, while his mother, Nandi, was a strong-willed woman who refused to be silenced. Their union was not accepted by the clan, and Shaka's early life was marked by rejection. When tensions grew unbearable, Shaka and his mother were exiled, forced to leave the safety of their home and navigate a harsh and unforgiving world. Life in exile was tough, but it shaped the boy who would one day shape a kingdom. Shaka faced ridicule and hardship, but he learned resilience and strength. He trained among the Mfethwa people, under the leadership of Chief Dingiswayo, a man who saw Shaka's potential and nurtured his natural talents. Here, Shaka grew into a skilled warrior and a sharp strategist, traits that would later define his rise to power. When Shaka's father, King Senzangakona, passed away, the time came for Shaka to claim what he believed was rightfully his. With the support of Dingiswayo and his own cunning, Shaka outmaneuvered his rivals and seized control of the Zulu clan. But he didn't stop there. Shaka's vision was far greater than ruling a small clan. He saw the possibility of uniting the fragmented tribes of the region into a powerful kingdom. What drove Shaka wasn't just power, it was transformation. His revolutionary military strategies, his focus on discipline, and his dream of a unified Zulu people were unlike anything southern Africa had ever seen. How did he turn his vision into reality? And at what cost? These questions would come to define Shaka's remarkable and controversial reign. When Shaka Zulu took control of the Zulu clan, he was not content to rule a small group of people. His vision was far greater, a unified and powerful kingdom that could rival any in southern Africa. Through a mix of diplomacy and sheer force, Shaka began bringing neighboring clans under his leadership. Some willingly joined, drawn by his strength and charisma. Others resisted and were defeated, their members absorbed into the growing Zulu kingdom. Under Shaka's leadership, what was once a fragmented region became a unified force. One of the keys to Shaka's success was his revolutionary military innovations. He introduced the short stabbing spear, known as the Ikalwa, replacing the traditional long throwing spear. This weapon forced his warriors to engage in close combat, making them more effective and deadly. Shaka also developed the famous buffalo horn formation, where warriors would encircle and overwhelm their enemies. Combined with intense training, discipline, and a focus on endurance, the Zulu army became one of the most formidable fighting forces in history. Shaka didn't stop with reforming his army, he expanded his territory with relentless campaigns. He led his warriors across vast distances, conquering clan after clan and incorporating them into the Zulu kingdom. His campaigns weren't just about warfare, they were about creating a single, powerful identity for the Zulu people. Through his efforts, the Zulu kingdom grew from a small clan into a dominant regional power, feared and respected by all who encountered it. Shaka's leadership earned him the title of Shaka the Great. He wasn't just a king, he was a visionary who transformed a small group of people into a fearsome and unified kingdom. But this transformation came with a price. As Shaka's power grew, so did his enemies, both within and beyond the Zulu kingdom. How far could his vision take him before the weight of his ambition began to crack the foundations he had built? Under Shaka Zulu, the Zulu kingdom was no longer just a collection of clans, it was a tightly controlled empire built on absolute loyalty to the king. Shaka centralized power, dismantling traditional structures and replacing them with a military hierarchy that placed him at the top. His rule wasn't just about governing, it was about shaping every aspect of life in his kingdom. Every man, woman, and child knew that the Zulu army, under Shaka's command, was the backbone of their society. But loyalty to Shaka wasn't just earned through respect, it was demanded through fear. Shaka's warriors were known for their strict discipline, but the punishment for disobedience was severe. Shaka ruled with an iron fist, and his methods worked. His warriors fought harder, they feared him, and they respected him, knowing that their very survival depended on their loyalty to their king. But fear isn't a foundation that lasts forever. And Shaka's grip on his people, built on that foundation, was beginning to show cracks. As Shaka's empire expanded, the period of the Mfikane, or the crushing, was born. It wasn't just a series of conquests, it was a force of nature, sweeping through southern Africa. Entire tribes were crushed, displaced, or absorbed into the Zulu kingdom. Communities fled in fear, abandoning their lands and homes. The chaos and destruction that followed Shaka's expansion reshaped the political landscape of the region. The ripple effects of the Mfikane reached far beyond the Zulu heartlands, leaving a trail of fear and resentment. But not everyone bent to Shaka's will. While Shaka built powerful alliances, like his early partnership with the Mfethwa chief Dingiswayo, he was also locked in brutal conflicts with rival tribes, most notably the Nwandwa. Their leader, Zwide, was a fierce opponent, determined to challenge Shaka's growing power. The two armies clashed in a battle that would become legendary, with Shaka emerging victorious, but at a cost. The carnage left deep scars, and the bitterness of such a violent campaign never truly faded. As the kingdom expanded, Shaka found himself facing more and more challenges, not just from external enemies, but from those within his own kingdom. The very loyalty he'd built with blood and iron began to falter. His methods, though effective, had sown the seeds of resentment. The fear that had united his warriors was now a double-edged sword. The cracks in his empire were beginning to show, and it seemed like only a matter of time before the forces he had created would turn against him. As the Zulu kingdom grew stronger under Shaka's reign, so did the price of power. The same methods that had united his people, fear, loyalty, and discipline, began to erode the foundations of his rule. Over time, Shaka's once unstoppable force of will turned inward. His growing paranoia consumed him. The king, once celebrated for his genius, now became increasingly harsh with his inner circle, fearing betrayal from even his closest allies. His once loyal generals and advisors began to question his leadership as he grew more erratic and violent. His own family was not spared from his suspicions. Shaka's increasing cruelty alienated his relatives, many of whom began to resent his rule. Within the heart of his kingdom, tensions boiled over. Among the most trusted of his family were his half-brothers, Dingane and Mwangana, who had grown disillusioned with Shaka's reign. Their resentment was not just personal, it was political. Shaka's increasingly unpredictable behavior left the future of the kingdom uncertain. As rumors of rebellion spread, it became clear that the once unified Zulu kingdom was now deeply fractured. In 1828, the cracks finally shattered. Shaka was betrayed, not by a foreign enemy, but by his own blood. Dingane and Mwangana, fueled by ambition and fear, orchestrated a violent coup. In a moment of brutal treachery, Shaka was assassinated in his royal compound, brought down by the very men he had raised and trusted most. The king who had once been a symbol of unstoppable strength was dead, his reign cut short in an act of betrayal and violence. The immediate aftermath of Shaka's death sent shockwaves through the kingdom. Dingane, now the new king, struggled to maintain control. The Zulu warriors who had once fought with undying loyalty under Shaka now questioned their new ruler's legitimacy. The kingdom began to fracture. Shaka's death left a void that Dingaan was ill-equipped to fill. The unity Shaka had fought so hard to create began to unravel, and the Zulu kingdom was plunged into turmoil. Yet, even as the Zulu kingdom began to lose its cohesion, Shaka's vision did not die with him. The identity he forged for the Zulu people, strong, united, and proud, would continue to shape the. After Shaka's death, his half-brother Dingaan ascended to the throne, but his rule was marked by instability. Unlike Shaka, Dingaan struggled to command the same respect and loyalty from the Zulu people. His reign was plagued with internal divisions, as many questioned his legitimacy and capability to lead. Shaka had built the Zulu kingdom with a mix of fierce loyalty and terror, but Dingaan's leadership lacked the same strength and unity. Dingaan also faced increasing pressure from outside forces. The European settlers, known as the Voortrekkers, had begun migrating into southern Africa, seeking new land and freedom. They soon came into conflict with the Zulu kingdom. The tensions reached a boiling point in 1838, when Dingaan's forces clashed with the Voortrekkers at the Battle of Blood River. This battle would become one of the most famous in Zulu history. The Voortrekkers, armed with firearms, faced off against Dingaan's warriors, who fought fiercely with traditional weapons. Despite being vastly outnumbered, the Zulu army held their ground for hours, but the Voortrekkers eventually emerged victorious, marking a turning point in the Zulu-European conflict. The battle was a massive loss for the Zulu, and it crippled their ability to resist the European settler advance. It also marked the beginning of a new era, one where the Zulu kingdom would face increasing pressure from both European colonizers and rival African tribes. Despite these external pressures, the legacy of Shaka Zulu lived on. After Dingaan's reign faltered, his brother Mpande took the throne. Mpande's leadership was a contrast to both Shaka and Dingaan's. While he was more diplomatic and sought peace with the Europeans, he also worked to maintain the Zulu kingdom's integrity in the face of external threats. Under Mpande, the kingdom endured, though its power was no longer what it had been under Shaka's rule. Shaka's legacy wasn't just in the kingdom he built, it was in the identity he forged for the Zulu people. Despite the changing political landscape and the growing influence of European settlers, the pride and strength of the Zulu people endured. Even as the kingdom faced new challenges, Shaka's name remained a symbol of Zulu pride, strength, and unity. Shaka Zulu's legacy goes far beyond his conquests and the lands he ruled. His impact is felt not only in the history of the Zulu kingdom but across the entire continent of Africa, and even the world. One of the most enduring aspects of Shaka's legacy is his military innovation. His tactics revolutionized African warfare and left a mark on military strategies worldwide. The buffalo horn formation, the use of the short stabbing spear, the Ikawa, and his relentless training of his warriors transformed the Zulu army into an unstoppable force. Shaka's tactics are still studied in military academies today, from African nations to Western powers. His emphasis on mobility, discipline, and psychological warfare gave his soldiers an edge that many of his enemies never saw coming. Some historians even argue that his strategies laid the foundation for modern combat techniques, influencing the likes of generals such as Napoleon Bonaparte. But Shaka's impact wasn't just on the battlefield. He also played a vital role in shaping Zulu identity and culture. He unified a patchwork of disparate clans under the Zulu banner, creating a cohesive nation, bound together by a shared sense of pride, military prowess, and loyalty. The Zulu people were no longer a scattered group of tribes, they were a formidable force that commanded respect across southern Africa. Shaka instilled a deep sense of unity and pride in his people, one that would persist even after his death. His rule, while brutal at times, also sparked a cultural renaissance within the Zulu kingdom. Shaka fostered traditions, ceremonies, and a sense of collective identity that defined the Zulu for generations. However, Shaka's legacy is not without controversy. The historical debate over whether he was a visionary leader or a ruthless conqueror continues to this day. Some see him as a brilliant strategist and a hero of African unity, a man who used his strength to build an empire and defend his people. Others view him as a tyrant, whose methods of control, based on fear and violence, brought immense suffering to many. His actions during the Mfikane, for example, led to widespread chaos and displacement, and his internal policies of harsh discipline alienated those closest to him. Was Shaka a visionary who sought to create a lasting empire, or was he a ruthless conqueror who destroyed everything in his path to satisfy his personal ambition? The answer isn't simple. Shaka was both a visionary and a conqueror. His achievements were monumental, but so too were the consequences of his ambition. Yet, what remains undeniable is the lasting impact he left on African history. His military genius, his role in shaping Zulu identity, and his ability to unify a people under one banner have ensured that his name will never be forgotten. The Zulu kingdom may have fractured after his death, but the pride and strength he instilled in his people endured, forming the foundation of a legacy that continues to inspire generations. Shaka Zulu's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. From being cast out as a child, rejected by his own people, to rising up and becoming one of the most legendary kings in African history, his transformation is truly something remarkable. He started with nothing, but through sheer will, incredible determination, and a genius for strategy, he turned the Zulu kingdom into a powerhouse that reshaped all of southern Africa. Think about it, Shaka didn't just build an army, he built a nation. With his military innovations, like the short stabbing spear and the buffalo horn formation, he created a fighting force that changed how wars were fought in Africa. His vision wasn't just about power, it was about uniting people, creating a force that could stand against anything that came their way. And he did it. He took a fractured group of tribes and turned them into one of the most feared kingdoms in Africa. But as much as Shaka accomplished, his methods are where the story gets complicated. He ruled with an iron fist, and his leadership wasn't always kind. His use of fear to maintain loyalty, his cruelty towards those who disagreed with him, these things have sparked a lot of debate. Was he a hero, a visionary who shaped the future of his people? Or was he a tyrant, whose ambition led to destruction? Maybe he was both. What's clear is that his impact, whether for better or worse, is undeniable. Even after his death, Shaka's legacy didn't just vanish. The Zulu kingdom may have fractured, but the strength, pride, and unity he instilled in his people stayed alive. His name became a symbol, not just of power, but of resilience and determination. And today, Shaka's story still resonates with people, not just in Africa, but around the world. His life challenges the way we think about leadership and what it takes to create something that lasts. If you've been fascinated by Shaka's rise and the incredible impact he had on history, make sure to subscribe for more. We've got plenty more stories coming, diving into the lives of the most fascinating leaders who shaped the world we live in today.